today, right? We're here to talk about inspiring innovation and using women as catalysts of change in our future. And often when we think about innovation, we think about places like this, South by Southwest, the great state of Texas. We think about California or New York. But we want you to start thinking about Alabama in the mix. The reason is, you'll be surprised to learn that the state has launched a number of new initiatives to support female entrepreneurship. That, along with affordable cost of living, lots of outdoorsy lifestyle options, all of those are attracting entrepreneurs and investors like our two guests here today. So let's get into it. Joining me now is Amy Jo Martin. She runs RENEGADE. We also have Martha SYLLA Underwood. She's a founder of PRISMM. And as always, we want to thank our partner, Innovate Alabama, for their partnership. RENEGADE Global's ethos is all about creating positive disruption. That's what I'm seeing on your website. What positive disruptive forces are you seeing in Alabama, in the ecosystem, that made you want to step up to invest in Halogen Ventures, which ended up investing in Innovate?
Well, thank you everyone for being here, and happy International Women's International. I can't think of a better time to talk about true disruption. So what we're seeing in Alabama, in conjunction with Halogen VC, which is led by Jesse Draper. RENEGADE Global Ventures is an LP in that sense. We've invested in Halogen, seeing this incredible partnership. What that means is we're really looking at where increasing the most leverage. So as women, we're getting together, we're investing together. We have about 1,000 women at RENEGADE, female leaders, executives, founders, and they're interested in what makes sense and matters to them, investing in other female founders. We trusted Halogen to go out and seek the deals for us. And what's unique about this is that they're national. And they're able to see all this deal flow. So we're democratizing access to deal flow, but also the flow of capital, which is being directed into a very specific geographic location. So really unique place. So that's what we're about. We're getting behind, the forces at Halogen and also leveraging our expertise, our influence against these investors.
Yeah, Martha is a use case around this investment in this partnership. Tell us about your company, PRISMM. Tell us about the company, your approach, and partnership with SHIBANI. So my name is Martha SYLLA, and I am the CEO of PRISMM, and we are dedicated to making sure that trade are welcome to the next generation, because we know that is a big generation can get forward, right? That's the best way to be able to the best way to be able to live off of what your parents, your grandparents, and everyone else so hard to do, right? We felt a financial institution as a I was a former head of retail software engineering back in Bank, and I saw this problem first. In addition to that, I saw it as my because I am well, not poor, and after taking care of my parents that don't live in the same city as I do. And so it's important for us to be able to get access to those things like our store. So that's what my mission is for PRISMM. The importance of partnering with Innovate Alabama is being able to get access to capital and to meet people like Jesse and Amy Jo. Because we're not necessarily seen in that place. We don't think of Alabama as a place where fintechs are grown and there's talent, right? So that's really important for me, and that's why this is really great. How does a public-partner partnership between Innovate Alabama and the private sector connect and create a unique advantage, right? It's not just about getting access to capital. Yes, that is huge. We need to be able to disperse capital, particularly in underserved states, communities, and with women populations. But they also need more, right? And in my view, that's what these partnerships as a founder, especially in Alabama, we have a lot of nonprofits. And so to be able to partner with Innovate Alabama that has several programs, that has a program that is specific to putting funds into companies that want to stay and grow in Alabama. Companies, they find companies like one that is for profit. And you don't necessarily see that. I'm talking to venture capitalism, talking to people, but to be able to get access to a vehicle through the state that empowers us and encourages us to stay with the state, to build our companies, to be able to hire people, to contribute to the economic growth of Alabama. And I think that's
What does that look like day-to-day? What does that interaction look like?
so that looks like being access to the mayor, right? Or having to meet with a client. So I can call up someone at Innovate Alabama and say, do you have this relationship with this? Or do you have this relationship with this organization? And they can walk me into the system. If I'm in Miami, if I'm in San Francisco, if I'm in New York, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. It's much harder.
It's like, if you think of a container of leverage, right? Financial capital is in there, but it's the diverse intellectual capital backgrounds, for example, at RENEGADE and at Halogen, that we joke, it's like we're the backbone. So when women invest, in my experience, whether it's through a special purpose vehicle or angel VC, they tend to write the check, but they also tend to put some time behind it, right? Their influence, their any other leverage they have. So you kind of turn into a Swiss Army knife, your expertise, and you have an SOS call at any moment, who do you know? The key to that is the diverse background. So you have, a colonel in the Army who's an orthopedic surgeon who's on, who's a renegade who's investing, and then we have someone in corporate, private equity. So we're doing deals across the funding spectrum from early stage AI startup to PE deals. And they're learning to do it at the same time, but they're able to leverage their expertise and background as well as that.
Bringing in a whole host of network resources. Adrian, from your perspective in the VC sector, what does the space look like right now? What's the temperature, and what excites you?
Wow. So a couple of mega trends that we're seeing, right? The shift in $30 trillion over the next 5 years, shifting into women's hands. So that's right now a third of the global economy is controlled by women. It will be half in 5 years. Just imagine that for a second and let that sink in. So that is a pretty big opportunity for a trampoline in terms of making moves quickly. And then AI, we're an investor in an AI company, Circle AI. It is fertility, healthcare, and just raised our Series A. It was quite a fascinating process. I mean, the climate of the economy and where we are with dynamics right now is one thing, but then we still need more advocates in female healthcare innovation, and the numbers are there. The deck is solid, we've got the backup, but it's still not as sexy to some VC that it should be. Just look at even the numbers. We're not talking about anything else. So those opportunities to level some of the playing field, these are coming up quickly. It's tough. We've got macroeconomics, multiple generations working together, AI, burnout, and it's a recipe for a trap or a trampoline.
Martha, I'd love to hear from you around what your perception is right now as a founder of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Challenges that you are finding difficulties or that hold you moving up the mountain. What are those that you're specifically looking to fix?
So one, I would say, being with Innovate Alabama, not just talking about it. We always talk about, we all know the numbers of women not getting funding, right? We can talk about those numbers all the time, but getting access through Innovate Alabama is one hurdle that I'm comfortable that I can do because I have that background. The other thing is the exposure. Right? Sometimes you get hidden and you might have a brilliant company and a brilliant team, but because you're not in the right state, in the right city, you don't get a seat.
the brilliance of this partnership, right? You take Halogen VC, who has 9 years of educating the top female VCs out there, period. Their optics and access and leverage and incubation. Then you have Inc, and then you have the C. It is unique, and this playbook should be studied and modeled. I've moved, I'm a 3-time founder, I've moved my company before, entire team and company to a different state for an investment, and it was a win-win opportunity. But the recruiting aspects of if you are a founder and you're looking for capital and you have a smart idea, consider Alabama. Look at how quickly you can get tapped in. Like they're gonna welcome you, right? But it's smart. It's a smart move because this is national amplification for an area and state that may not typically have had it, and they're getting introduced today.
So how do you think about scaling inside Alabama, right? You have access, you have resources, you have a network, but how do you get bigger? And what does perhaps the Innovate Alabama platform get you? But what are you able to do as a business person to scale faster?
Sure, so I'm able to take advantage of what's happening in the economy, right? So sometimes it's about timing and product. So typically, you have a great product and you're like, you're trying to get it out there. Now, with capital behind me, I can hire faster. I can get a sales guy to be able to hit my pipeline and turn it over into clients pretty quickly, right? I can do marketing to be able to market and fail and attract more companies to myself that need it, right? So that's what the partnership does, and that's what the money and the capital does. It allows me to pour that capital into my company in order to acquire my customers in that capital.
What about the general ecosystem these days for female founders? It's International Women's Day. We want to give our focus and attention to continuing to support women in that founder's role. What's one thing about the current support system that you see could better be aided by the involvement of not just more women, but also more male partners?
Okay, so they told us we could have it all, right? So that meant doing it all, and everybody defines their all differently, right? So we're doing it all, we did it, and now we're trying to collect on it all as well, right? And so redefining what that looks like for each other, and we really need to be focused on expanding our time, our health, and our wealth, because we're tapped at the end, right? We need more capacity where our potential is. It's obviously limitless, but those solutions working together, I'm all about leverage once again, and with the men as well. We just did a private equity deal. There were 4 white billionaires and a misfit renegade women that were on the cap table that did it. It's like whatever we can do to think differently, ask the questions, and then make sure you've got your backbone in your back pocket and you're using it and helping each other.
I think it's important to have more women in DC. And so having that conversation with someone who might understand some of the challenges that you're facing, right? We do need to work with the men. We absolutely need to work with the men, but on this International Women's Day, I want to focus it on women. Because I've been in a male-dominated industry for so long. Sometimes it's hard to speak the same language and even talking about speaking the same language. But when you have another woman across the table that's interested in investing in your company and understanding the process that you're talking, it makes all the difference. And I think that's one of the things that we can really focus on is making sure we get more women making things.
Can I ask that really quickly? I totally agree. This is something Jesse Draper and I have talked quite a bit about is consolidation of, looking at how we can pull money together better versus having so many smaller female-led VCs. So, for example, with Renegade, we bet on Jesse Draper and Halogen, and she's going to go out and find those deals. That's her skill set, that's her sweet spot. It's like give her the money, she's going to go, and it's, again, pulling together versus trying to run in 10 different directions or 1,000, because it takes a lot. There's not the volume of 75 companies that Halogen has invested in. They have 5 unicorns. Companies with over $1 billion valuation, $15 billion in market size with their portfolio. Like, they're on it, get behind them. Let's not try to create our own thing. They're doing it. So let's all put our checks there.
Right, don't bifurcate sort of the power that we have. In addition to the capital, mentoring is also really important. I know you've been on the receiving end of it. It's part of what your network is as well. Talk to me about the power of mentorship. How can everyone here in this room think about mentoring somebody else or asking for mentorship when you need it? It's often harder to ask for help, right?
Yeah, it's hard for me to ask for that. I'm just gonna be honest, right? But it's critical because I know what my strengths are, and you can't build something by yourself. You always need to be able to talk to someone who's been there, done it, and can give you some sound advice, right? So if it's your number, if you're like, okay, I know this person understands numbers and math, and DC math is different from other math. You're like, okay, I need help with this, and understanding DC math, and not being afraid to ask those conversations, to have those conversations or ask for that help. And through the mentorship program and the access to the people who have the knowledge who've been there, done that, through Innovate Alabama is again gives you the wings to your wings, the way that you can wings so you can make it scale faster.
So my career started in sports and entertainment. Most of my mentors were, they send the elevator down, you get in, you go up, and you send it right back down. And now I have many other mentors who are women, but bridging, and making sure that I look at mentorship as different ones for different things. I'm an investor mentor, and we need to make sure that we're, learning to ask ourselves those questions that we're constantly asking, because that makes mentorship more scalable. Because I do all the time, and I think it's not just mentorship too; it's sponsorship and resources. So that combination is key, and hopefully your mentor is down on what to do, and walk that path, because that means they probably have roadblocks and capital crisis.
Learning from other people's experiences. Martha, at one point I know you said you are not building escapism attempts. The stuff that we see often men making, the stuff that we see getting in the life of Silicon Valley, you are focused on creating value for tech. I'm curious, and I'd love to hear from you too, Amy Jo, also. Women can create anything or creating lots of things, but I think what we do really well is solve the stuff that bothers us, that becomes sticky and weigh on us in ways that men don't have experience or exposure to, right? So tell me a little bit about that philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming back to that. That was hot for me. I sat down and I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, I always say I'm not building these things from scratch, right? Which is like to entertain us. I'm creating something of value. And as a mother and a sister, and as a daughter, we have so much to do. Right? But I'm also taking care of my parents who poured into me. And how do I split my time to be able to make sure that they're taking care of me, but I'm also taking care of myself and my family? And typically when there is a crisis or something that happens with a death in the family, it's the woman, it's the mother, it's the daughter, it's the sister that is taking care of the business of the crisis, right? We don't get the opportunity to read, to sit down, to think about what's happening, because then we have to go to the next thing. And so what I created was something that will take that burden off. I can go to a centralized place, find all the information from my parents, my grandparents, myself, and share it with somebody. So in the case of emergency, someone has access to it, especially the money. Because when we talk about the wealth gap that's happening, it happens because we're not organized. We don't know where the money is, and we don't want to talk about it, and we don't want to tell someone where it might be in the event that something happens to me. And so that money goes into the state, and it never sees your beneficiaries or your agents, and you've worked so hard all your life for it not to do that. And so it's a value, and I built it for myself out of necessity, right? I'm like, when something happens to you, when my mom or dad transitioned this life, I want to be able to breathe. And I know that I told my husband, I'm going down about this. So don't bother me, and I don't want to have to deal with that business stuff. I want to be able to know that everything is handled, and when I get to it, I get to it. And that's what women need. How are we making our life easier so that we can live our lives.
It's hard to explain that, right? And that's part of what the need for female founders is all about. To your point, Andrew, earlier, you were saying female fertility enhanced with AI. It can be hard to explain to a man what the issue is, what the struggles are, what the need for it is. So pitching to a team of women takes that problem off of the table where you can validate and justify that this is a game.
Right, and it might be weird, like two different deals could be exactly the same point. It's just, it's a topic that isn't as known. I'm most interested in what I can invest in from a, time, health, and wealth perspective. Otherwise, it's what can we do? We delegate or divest it. Like, we don't need any more things other than really create more time. So that's why I'm so excited and bullish about AI, and that's why we focus on that space. We're radically manipulating time and multiplying talent. So it's competing with our bandwidth, which is great to have it, right? We want to be up here where we're qualified to be as human cognitive intelligence. And this is going to be a game changer, especially for women. And that's why we're very excited about it.
What other areas do you see the ability to impact what we do, not necessarily in your day-to-day work? What are the categories that you see a lot of potential?
I'm going to double down on there. I think that we really need to embrace
But it's application at the most.
I'd say application and something we talked about earlier, application and application in our time. And remembering all of those efforts that we need to remember, right? And making sure our husbands remember it and not call up and ask us to do things we already did. Right, those were applications, some of the applications to just kind of save time in AI.
Care. So I had my son almost on airplane. It was 3 months early. And I had it on the layover. And 27 weeks, we'll never know why. He was 2 pounds. I had him in Denver with an NICU for 3 months. And I asked the neonatologist why. They did all their diagnostics. He said, we'll never know why in your case because you don't have this and this, the 2 things we've been able to study. Unfortunately, there's just not enough innovation in the country. So fast forward, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about healthcare and AI is that we are starting to be able to ingest more data and make sense of it and create insights that can then turn around and be provided to healthcare providers and really get more accurate and also understand it. But it should not be a black box, right? We can send people to, okay, so 15 minutes, we should be able to figure out some of these basics.
As we wrap up our conversation, we have a lot of founders in the audience here today who each of you bring very different perspectives. What are, let's just say, 2 or 3 pain points or struggles that you have experienced that you would like to mentor our audience around, some advice, some wisdom around challenges that you can assume and perceive they might run into? Share that with us.
Sure, the first I'll say is be prepared and understand like your business in and out when you're talking to someone, right? Also get a financial person early on to help you from when you first start your company to help you build it.
What kind of financial person?
So I would say a CFO to help you with just the basics. Create a bank account, like a business bank account. Start looking at what your costs, looking at the market, like what's your growth trajectory, what does that look like? When will you become profitable? Like all of these different things from planning, because we think about product, like I created this great product, and also doing market research, who's going to buy it, like who's my real customer? I see a lot where I'm talking to other founders and I'm like, that's a challenge sometimes because you're passionate about your product and what you're solving, but can you sell it? And so bringing someone else in to have that conversation with you and talk to the numbers and math about it, I think is critical. The other thing I'll say is sometimes we are our own enemy because we have blind spots that we may not want to talk about. So be honest about some of the challenges that you have. And don't be afraid to ask for that help. I'm talking to myself too, because sometimes it's hard to ask for that help when you're heads down and you're like, I think it's working. right? Until you go and ask for help. And I've seen that with a lot of my fellow founders. The last thing I'll say is it gets very hard, but you gotta keep on. Some people give up like right when they're about to hit their stride, and it takes, someone said to me like, be resilient, be resilient, be resilient. But while you're being resilient, it's hard. Because you're in the midst of being resilient. You're going through something, right? And so go through it, build the tribe of support systems to get you to that point, and you'll be successful.
Okay, so I guess 3 things. One, remember, you don't brand yourself, you are yourself. That creates your brand, right? So focus on your product, focus on your passion for what you're creating, that solution, that service, and you will exude and attract the people that you need to attract. That leads into number 2. One of my mentors taught me, when they look at investment opportunities, they think of really 3 things. You've got the surfer, the surfboard, and the wave. The surfer is the founder, the surfboard is the product or service, the wave is the industry or something going on at the time. Hopefully all 3 are rocking, but the founder is where you gotta start, because 9 times out of 10 you start and things begin to change, right? And that leads me to my 3rd point of just get started. We often just think our way through and strategize forever, but if you don't have action and that feedback loop going in some way, shape, or form, you won't be able to grow and iterate, get to that very next red, yellow, or green light. And the answers are on the street with your customers. They're not in a whiteboard session as much as we might think. So it's action, then clarity usually, right?
Amazing insights. Thank you so much for your wisdom, Amy, Jo, and Martha. Thank you again. Thank you to our partners, Innovate Alabama. These lovely ladies will be back in the back if you have any questions.